desert somewhere. And if you'd like to join in, take a deep breath. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Each Prapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Take another deep breath or two. If the sound of chanting was a little unsettling, do the breath and try to produce a little settling. Notice if you do. Just notice whatever happens. Nice job. When you're ready, go ahead and let your hands come down and let your eyes open. So I was talking with my wife last night, and we were talking about this interesting challenge these days that it's so normal to want to have a really good idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. And even to just be able to plan, like, what's next week going to be like? And I don't think it's really conscious. I don't think people really, think about it and focus like, oh, my psyche is trying to make sure that what normally happens next week is going to happen next week. But when you get into an interesting social situation like this, and it's hard to kind of figure out, what am I going to do next week? Kids going to go to school, is my office going to be open? Do I have to figure out how to do streaming? All those strange things. And so to go to bed at night and have to let go of certain perceived certainties. I think there's a lot of folks, I've watched clips and posts and stuff about people who are having a tough time sleeping or all sorts of stressful things. And I think overall they understand where the stress is coming from, but maybe there's a little underlying exercise or description of trying to let go of the certainty for the next moment that we usually don't even think about up at the top of the mind that we can hear speaking, but we probably notice that our comfort is based on, if I pull up to this red light, other cars are going to stop in accordance. But it'd be really weird if somebody sent out a secret text that red lights really meant, maybe you could go. And every time you pulled up to an intersection, you weren't quite sure what was going to happen. So as we practice today, I just want you to play with that idea, and we'll try to tickle that challenge a few times, maybe in balancing poses, to kind of come into the pose and find out what's happening, rather than come into the pose and verify what you thought would happen. If you're up for it, let's do downward facing dog pose. Well, when you plant your hands and your feet, set your body up so you can really lengthen out. So you can really lengthen out and let your spine get as long as possible. And it's okay if you set your hands and feet up long enough that it's really even hard to get your heels down sometimes. So we don't always have to set up down dog exactly the same. I want to get you moving so we can play around in some of these poses. So as soon as you're ready, take your right leg and lift it really high. There you go. And then work your right foot way up to the front of your yoga mat. And bring your hands up to your hips and take a couple of breaths. And when you get up there, just take a couple of breaths, just like the beginning in that seated centering. Go ahead and stretch your arms up. Take a couple of breaths and see if you can create that, just a gentle soothe. It doesn't have to fix everything. When you're ready, downward facing dog pose, or you can do a full vinyasa and we'll meet in down dog. So you could go chaturanga, cobra or up dog. Yeah, and then stretch back. let's do the other leg. So left leg up. And left foot forward. And then when you're ready, bring your hands to your hips and take a breath. So the breath is intended to be that thing that helps you soften your grip. Go ahead and stretch out. Or at least soften the need you have to grip and be sure what's going to happen. Beautiful job. Take a breath. And chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. You're welcome at home to skip any part of these chaturangas, these vinyasas. Take your right leg up and bring your right foot to the front. This time come into second warrior pose, so you can open up the hips. There you go. Take a breath. Just breath. Inhale, exhale, release. Real easy. And then when you're ready, chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. If we're going too fast, then you're welcome to just double up. Go ahead and take that leg up, left leg up. And left foot forward. And second warrior pose. And so if we're going too fast, take out a chaturanga. If we're going too slow, like my friend Lou, every once in a while he pumps out 2 or 3 chaturangas. Just get in there. When you're ready, downward facing dog pose. Just down dog. And then take a couple of breaths again. Let's bring your right foot to the front. And then with your hands on your hips, lean into that front leg and just try to push yourself up and stand in balance right at the front. And see what happens. Sure wish I could guarantee what was going to happen. And then go ahead and take that foot back and stretch up. Definitely want to try to balance there. Second warrior pose. And breathe. This time tip back and stretch out. So bring it, yeah, perfect. Your back into your hip or thigh and reach way up. And then downward facing dog, or a full vinyasa if you like. If you just feel like you need more push-ups today, you can do them. Alright, let's go left leg forward. Yeah. Oh, yeah, turn straight ahead. Take a breath. Load that front leg. And then press up. And see what happens. Perfect. See if you can do the soothing breath. And then step that leg back. And stretch up. And open it to the side. Second warrior pose. Perfect, you guys. Tip back. And reach up. Stretch up really tall. On your next exhale, chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. There you go. Perfect. Let's bring your right foot to the front and take a kneeling lunge. Now if you're at home, you're welcome to use anything you got to kneel. Lunge a bit forward. And see if you feel any stretch coming up through the front of that back leg, or if there's any squeeze in that front hip. Just take a breath. Instead of fixing anything, just feel whatever you got. You can even soften your eyes, maybe even close them. And feel what it's like to get a little unstable. Switch legs. Go ahead and switch legs. So lunge forward a little bit. Let your breath continue to calm. Now We could say calm a muscle, calm your nervous system. And switch sides again. We'll add a little more action to this other side. So shift it to your right foot forward. You want to use that zuff. On this one, do a little exercise. Tightrope this, so put it on a real narrow line. Yeah. And then as you lunge, let your eyes close for a second. We're almost just inviting some mayhem in. Let's take that hand, your left hand, right leg forward, left hand down. You can let your eyes open if you'd like, and stretch up. And then if you really want to test this, close your eyes and try to come back up into center. Yeah, totally messed up. All right, downward facing dog pose. Let's switch by going to the down dog. And left foot forward. So I'd like, my nervous system would like to feel safe through the whole thing. Tightrope that. Even squeeze into the middle. And then if you're ready for it, let your eyes close. You can use your breath to calm you, but if you really tightrope this and you close your eyes, you're probably going to get a little wacky. Let's go ahead and take that opposite hand down. If you want to turn, look up, stretch up. To really trigger that, I want to be certain, stress. Let your eyes close and try to come back up into the middle. I peeked. I cheated. There you go. You can let it open. Downward facing dog pose. Nice job. Let's go right leg up. Feel free to open your hips. Bring your right foot to the front. First warrior pose. On your exhale, let's take that left hand down to the ground. If you got a block, that makes it a little easier. Perfect. Stretch up. If you want to let your eyes stay closed, or you can just close one eye, come into second warrior pose, and really tickle that stress. Tip back. Stretch up. Chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. Nice job. Let's go left leg up really high. And then turn your hips open and lift up even higher. Bring your left foot to the front. First warrior pose. Take a couple breaths. If you like, you can open or close your eyes. Let's go with that opposite hand in. Turn open and reach. If you really want to mess with your kind of stress response, close your eyes a little as you come into second warrior pose. Wow. Yeah, that's the rodeo swing there. And then chill it out again. Tip back and stretch up. On your exhale, chaturanga, downward facing dog pose. Go through whichever vinyasa you want to do. And then from down dog, look forward and step or hop all the way up to the front. And and then take a squat, Malasana. I think this has recently been changed to like spiky pose. And take a breath. You can let your eyes just close, and I'm going to go for the upright spine. If at home you feel like the bigger, deeper bow and heels all the way down, get you where you want, go for it. Listening to your own self and your own body, developing that as a skill, that's part of what we're working on. All right, let's go straight legs, Uttanasana. Yeah, so both legs tall and straight. If it's hard for you to lengthen your back here, you're always welcome to grab a lock. If you're at home, man, you can grab all sorts of things. You can even grab kids. And then on your exhale, bow or round. So big round, and take it in deeper. And let's come all the way up to Tadasana. Take it in. Inhale up. Straighten your glasses if you need, and bring your hands to your heart. Let's do some more. Inhale and stretch it up. And fold forward. And then inhale and lengthen. Use props if you want. On your exhale, chaturanga or down dog. Yep, all the way back. All right, let's bring your right foot up to the front. First warrior pose. If you would like, you can bring your hands right up to your hips or use your thigh. Shift it forward, press and balance. You got it. Now let's mess with this by tipping a little lower and lifting your back leg with a lot more power. Let's see if you can breathe and kind of let go of that need to know if you're going to be the first one in the room or out there on the internet to tip over. Tree pose. Way up tall. Do the breath. You can lift your heart and take your eyesight a little higher, a little dristy work. And then tip it towards third warrior pose again. And again, if you can put your hands on your thigh or your hips, and step it back, first warrior pose. And then lower down, chaturanga or downward facing dog pose. Alright, let's bring your left foot to the front. First warrior pose. Shift it into that front leg. Just load it. And again, some great options. You could even use a block if you wanted. But I want you to press and balance. And this usually triggers a whole bunch of stuff. And if you want to amp that up a little, you can take the arms forward or lift your back leg with more power or both. If you create a back bend, then tighten into your core too. Step back. First warrior pose. And when you're ready, chaturanga or downward facing dog pose. Alright, let's bring your right foot to the front. And we're going to set the back knee down, set it aside if you want to use a cushion. Lunge it forward, and let's bring your right hand down. My fault, left hand. turn open and stretch up. And then recenter the body and come back up into the middle. And we're going to do a little prep for a twist. So if you would, take your hands behind your head. And on this same side elbow, so right leg forward, right elbow, bring the elbow forward. There you go. And then suck the armpit back. Exactly. Yeah. Now take the elbow more open. And I want you to just see if you can pull the shoulder blade and the arm bone and the elbow back and start turning. You got it, exactly. Twist towards that front leg. Now take your left hand and I want you to reach it that same direction. So pull back and reach all at the same time. And switch sides. Yeah, that's a little prep move there. Before we take the hand down, I want you to try this thing. So eventually we're going to turn that way. So just take your right arm and hand, look towards your left, and just start pushing. You'll either fall over, or the arm, you take that right arm and just push it way over there. Exactly. If you're at home, I'm off camera. This is so sneaky. I could be having like a waffle. Make a fist and just push. You got it. Keep pushing. Again, if you're doing the video stuff, keep pushing that arm. Honestly, I just had like a whole Dutch baby Belgian waffle. You guys just didn't see it at home. And come back to the middle. Okay, cool. That's going to help part of our turn with all these muscles. Let's go through the sequence we did on the other side. So take that hand in, left foot forward, right hand in. Push, turn, then reach. If you are at home and you just heard of a Dutch baby and you don't know what it is, it's one of the most delicious things in the world. All right, come back up. We're going to add to this. So with that left leg forward, go left hand behind your head. Exactly. Pull the elbow forward. Suck the armpit back. And as you bring the armpit back, I'm hoping your shoulder blade feels like it squeezes. Keep squeezing that. Begin to open the elbow. You can push with your head, squeeze the shoulder blades. At the very end, you would open the elbow, then take the opposite arm and push. And when you take that arm and push, I want you to turn on all those muscles from your right armpit all the way through your core. On your exhale, push even farther. Beautiful work. Downward facing dog pose. That's going to be our prep for our twist here in a second. Yeah. Let's take your right leg and lift it up. And put your right foot forward. First warrior pose. And breathe. We're going to work a twist here. And if you want to go really gentle, you can take your left hand to the floor. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to brace, I'm going to reach as far as I can, then hook the elbow. Okay, go for it. And when you feel like you have the elbow hooked and you can brace with that elbow, instead of leaning, push. You can stack the hands and push. Yeah, take a couple of breaths. If you really push and you create a lot of turn, your body might even feel like it's going to rotate and almost tip over. 2 more breaths. Beautiful work. Second warrior pose. This time lean forward. Let's go with your elbow and your thigh. Or you can even take your hand in, inside or outside, doesn't really matter. And then take the top one over. Perfect. Parshvakonasana. Chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. Alright, left foot forward. First warrior pose. And take a breath. Let's go ahead and bring that left hand to your left thigh. Take your right arm, and without leaning too far forward, take your right arm and just push. There you go, keep pushing. Hook the elbow. Push down with your elbow. Palm to palm. Push down through the arms. Take about 2 or 3 more breaths. And you can use all the pushing down through your right arm into the left leg to help you turn. You can also still think of reaching and have your core pull you more into a curve, or a turn, sorry. Great job. Second warrior pose. And tip forward. Go elbow to thigh. You can also take it down lower if you would like. Chaturanga, or downward facing dog. Alright, right foot forward. Take a breath. Stretch up. Shift your body into that front leg. And if you got a block, maybe have it ready. Let's take that right hand in and open. Excellent. Step back in the second warrior pose. And Shavasana. Tip it forward. Chaturanga, or downward facing dog. Or coffee break. From down dog, let's go left leg forward. Take a breath, first warrior pose. Shift it forward if you want. Use that yoga block. Press up and balance. Let's go left hand down. And turn your hips open. If you want to go full reach, go for it. Take a breath and calm down that need to be positive what's going to happen. Second warrior pose. If you're at home and you're thinking we skipped one of the sides where we went up to the tree pose, I had to make it real. Tip it forward. Shavasana. This wouldn't be like a real class unless I left something out on one side. Chaturanga, or downward facing dog pose. Alright, from down dog, let's work your right foot to the front. This time begin to make both legs straight. And I'm going to use one of my yoga blocks. There you go. And so now explore a little bit. Deep into that front hamstring. At the foot, if you want to get down into some of the mechanics, at that front foot, spread the toes and then push them. So we can get pretty deep into that. And then way up higher in the chain, on the body parts and segments, take your pelvis and see if you can tip your pelvis forward so the pubis goes back. And that's going to deepen the hip and how much it flexes in this pose. We're going to stay on that leg for a couple more moments. So from your hands being all the way down, bring them up to your hips, come upright for a second. Yeah, good. At the foot, push. And then up at the pelvis, we have two main directions. One is to scoop your tailbone, and this usually gets short. And the other one is to tip it the other way. So for a moment, scoop, and then tip. The other direction we have is to rotate that way, or to rotate that way. Yeah, so we got those kind of four directions. Bring your hands back down. And, especially if you're at home. I saw somebody post this morning that the great thing about doing a class at home is you don't even have to wear your underwear. So, you folks here in the studio don't get too wild. But if you're at home, just explore. So you can tuck, tip, turn in, turn out. And this is just exploring what's going to go on in that right hip. And you might feel all sorts of different muscles. It's not really fixing anything. It's just trying to explore. All right. If you want to do more of a vinyasa, chaturanga, up, down, 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 go for it. Otherwise, you're welcome to just stand up and switch sides. Oh, yeah. I like it. So, left leg forward, both legs straight. I can see in here some different alignment in the feet and stuff, and I just love that. So, to explore this is not to perform it necessarily perfect. We had those different directions in the hips. So if you can take your sit bones back, that's what I'm calling the tipping. It creates a little more curve. It usually creates a little more hamstring stretch. Then the turn in, we bring that opposite, that's your right hip, a little around and forward. Sometimes you might even notice that when you take that opposite hip forward, sometimes you lose a little bit of the sit bones lifted. Kind of depends on what your body's like. So move around in that left hip just a moment longer. To really explore, you gotta at least be a little soft with your demands on what's gonna happen. Otherwise, you're just seeking. All right, downward facing dog pose. Inhale, come on up into plank, and take a breath. In plank, push. And then we're going to turn open a little bit. Now you could do this on your knees, so you could roll all the way to the shin. Or you can go in full Parsvanathanasana or some sort of variation. Yeah, you guys got it. Good. So turn it open. And then I want to do that thing we did with your arm earlier. So take your left hand behind your head. While the elbow is low, pull the armpit back. And then I want you to push down like you're reaching out through your right arm as you turn open in the top. Take a couple breaths. And let's switch sides. So a lot of options on how you could do this. You guys got it perfect.
push. So that arm you're leaning on, don't just lean into it. I want you to push it out like you're doing that punch that we did for the twist. And chaturanga is just a held plank. And we're going to switch sides again. So go with that right side. And as you push, I want you to bring your top foot a little forward. You got it. Then I want you to reach under without collapsing. So push, reach, push. Keep the core up. And then we're going to open. Go ahead and open it up. Yeah. And step that front foot a little back. See if you can pull. If you want, you can take it up. Exactly. Switch sides. Okay, yeah, so left side. Bring that right foot a little forward. And if you want to watch this for a second, we'll do it like 10 more times. So when you take that top arm under, it's really tough because you kind of have to do a one arm cat. So instead of collapsing down, I want you to push. Get a little round right in the ribs. Push down so much that this goes in, and then reach. And it makes it harder to reach. You're not going to get as far through there. We're just kind of mixing how we use some of those muscles. Cool, and then we'll start to open. You guys are just nailing everything. And then if you would like to, you can take that front foot back. Nice job. All right, downward facing dog pose. I don't know what you guys at home are doing, but the folks here, they're starting to sweat. Let's take your right leg and lift it up really, really high. And then bring your right foot up to the front. First warrior pose. And we're going to work a twist. So you can still, again, push, hook, and press. You got it from right there, look forward. You can unhook your twist, press up and balance. Now if you're at home and you have a chair, like you can totally put your hands on a chair. Let's bring that right hand down, and you don't even have to turn. Just try to lift your back leg higher. So it's not the normal Ardha Chandrasana. It's not as turned over, but lift. And tree pose. I promise we'll get both sides on this one. All right, standing on your right leg. Bring your left leg up, tree pose. And take it up. First warrior pose. From first warrior pose, take that left hand all the way down, and then you can change this. So move the foot. You can go there and reach, or you can go full sidearm balance and reach. You got it. Vashisthasana. Top arm under. We got the left hand down. And switch sides. Right hand. You can open it, or you can do the reach with that extra cat. From right there, lift up that left foot. Bring the left foot to the front. First warrior pose. I wonder how many people out there are wearing pajamas. Shift into that front leg, load it up, and press. If you can, bring your left hand down. Put your right hand on your right hip. And you don't have to stay square. And you don't have to open up. I want you to try to lift that top leg, right leg up. And tree pose. I'm sweating. Take it up. And step your right foot back, first forward. Let's take that right hand down, and you can adjust that front foot. So we're going to go towards that side angle, or side balance pose. And you can work that in different ways. So with my left arm bracing, as I ramp, take that top arm, that's left, take it under. You could do this way down low if you want, but it's cat and reach. And switch sides. Yeah, arm balance, side arm balance. Make it easier. One arm, twisted, bent up cat. And push. And downward facing dog pose. Nice work. And I didn't forget the tree pose there. Let's go right foot forward. And begin to make both legs straight. This is where we were a few moments ago. So we're kind of back there after all that turning stuff. Tip it forward. Now, not everybody's hips need the same amount of turn in or turn out, tip or tuck. So explore a little bit. Just see what comes up. I'm still recovering in my hips from a big snowboarding day last week. And so, man, my hips are all different from one side to the other. So if you find something you weren't expecting, just take a breath, and that's what you have to work on at the moment. Let's keep that block together if you have it. If you don't have it, you can be creative and use something else. Like put that block underneath your left hand. And then bring your right hand up to your right hip. Begin to turn. And if anybody wants to, you can adjust your feet and your block so you could get a full turn. That's what I like to do the most, is adjust all the foundation so I can get a full turn and reach. Now if you want to, also take that hand behind your head and your armpit in, elbow open, push. And then take it back down again. Yeah, you got it. So now take that right hand to the floor and see if you can just keep reaching farther and farther forward. We're going to start cooling down a little bit. Today we're going to keep it to about 60 to 75 minutes. So if you want, you can keep a little more heat up. Chaturanga, vinyasa, and switch sides. For those of you who want to start to cool it down, just stand up and switch sides. This is a different room than we usually have in Monday classes, so I don't know if they know that they got the heat on this morning. This is a little warmer. So I go left foot forward. You're going to make both legs straight. And we're going to start to turn. So I mean, like the pretty tough, hardcore way to do this one is you take the hand all the way across and flat. But I find that's really tough to get the shoulder to open, the spine to turn. So just go with your block in a place where you can lengthen for a couple breaths. Move your pelvis to help the twist. Sit bones up. And opposite hip, that's probably your right hip. Bring that right hip forward. If you're super, super limber and you tend to over twist and bend, you can just kind of do the opposite. Go ahead and start turning. If you find you can get that full twist pretty easy, if you want to, take that block down. Add a little bit of challenge. Hand behind the head, armpit back, elbow open. Oh yeah. And downward facing dog pose. So our next pose is going to be kneeling. So if you want to grab whatever you like to kneel on, go for it. Let's go right foot forward. Cool. So I want you to try a little balance test. And that's what the cushion's going to be real nice if you want to double up. So see if you can put all your weight on top of that kneeling leg. That's probably your left. And then push. If you push down here, a lot of times this hip goes up. Kind of the country line dancing thing. And if you push down enough, it's easier to do a little one-legged balance. But if your knee's on the ground, that's going to be a little less comfortable. There you go. So that's pushing. Really hard to balance if that doesn't do it. Bring your right leg more open. There you go. On this leg, continue to push. And that even moves this hip. So you can just feel it out. So take that right leg. And you could take it at all sorts of angles. What we're doing if we take it farther out, we're putting more demand on inner thigh, and some hip flexor stuff. But you don't have to go straight out. Okay? Cool. Keep pushing. And lunge a little. If you're pushing a lot there, some of your early stretch will be through here, and you might feel a little bit up in here as well. And then let's add into it. So let's take that front side hand, right leg, right hand, and reach over. Got it. If you find that your arm goes forward and you can't get it up, you can use a yoga block. And come on up here. Good job. Switch legs. It's not 100%, but yoga blocks make almost everything better. Pretty close. Not always coffee, but lots of things. So check your push. So if I do the balance, I want this hip to stay higher than the one I'm on. That tells me that some of this stuff's working. Then shift. Come out towards the side. When you do that lunge, I want you to make sure that the leg you're lunging into, that the upper leg looks about like the direction of the foot. Just about. And then come on down in there. And you can stretch up. So you can take that when you stretch up. And you can just look, you can open your eyes and go, how straight up can I stretch? And you're still finding out. So if you do your first one with your hand all the way down, you might find out, dude, I'm totally awesome today. And then if you, sometimes you do that and you find out, man, my shoulders are so tight. And come on back up now. Okay, this one's going straight ahead. Switch knees. We're going to do a little bit of core stuff today after we finish up with part of our hip rounds. So I'm going to use a block so I don't have to round as much. Make your front leg more straight. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I know there was a presidential debate with nobody in the crowd. And for some reason, that's more relaxing for me. And I just fanned it out. I've been trying, I really don't like watching the politics stuff because it just triggers so much stuff below the surface that I'm not always listening to. On that front foot, if you want, do a little articulation or a little movement. And what you might notice is some extra tight spots down through here. You might also notice, I notice it a lot when I flex the foot back, that part of the stretch through here gets really a lot more intense. And I worked on this leg a whole bunch last night. This is the one that got all jacked up snowboarding. So right now I'm flipping it back and I'm finding out this is a lot better than like yesterday morning. Let's go ahead and switch sides. All right, left foot forward. I was having a fun conversation last weekend about snowboarding and how snowboarding is horrible for your yoga practice for your body. They're driving, with one foot this direction and the other foot's more that direction, and after 5 hours of snowboarding, it's just all not symmetrical. So much hardcore suffering from snowboarding. Take that foot and move it. Yeah, really. And then if you do catch that yourself on a ski lift, complaining about anything in the world, you should just look in a mirror. Go ahead and flex that foot back a whole bunch. Find out what's going on. And there was no way we were going to go up this weekend, but even the lifts were starting to close because of the virus stuff. That underlying stress, it got all the way up there. Take about 2 more breaths. And you can fish around, so I'm not trying to fit you into a specific spot or specific technique, alignment, position. All right. Let's switch to down dog. So if you want to press back and come into downward facing dog pose. And I'm going to show an option here. So bring your right leg forward for pigeon. And for the folks at home, I know there's some, from the people who are responding to the posts about some of these classes, some of you take different classes or workshops. And so one of the options, and it's a lot less intense hip stretch, but man, is it a lot more comfortable on the knees. And if you guys want to try this out, you could also try this. So this is, we're going to shift and sit on the hip and bring the back knee a little forward. So for me, I barely feel this in the hip unless the hip is really, really tight. And then on here, I'm going to rotate. You got it. So yeah. So I'm not mirroring you guys because of the camera today. So if I'm totally confusing you and stressing you out, I bet you weren't planning on it. So as you walk your hands over, if I did want to get a little more into the hip, I want to take my whole pelvis and tip it, pubis down, and then even turn this hip a little forward. This is been really creative with this pose the last few years. So you can even use this leg to push down, and it'll push this hip forward. And then on this hip, that area where the piriformis is, gets a little more opening in there. Now, if you're used to doing big, giant yoga pigeon, which is just tasty, it's like the Belgian waffle of breakfasts, this is probably not going to satisfy you. To add a little more to it, you can take that more forward arm, the opposite arm, and see if you can bring the elbow down. And so there's some twist. And that front hip and leg, that right leg, this twist that you did with your spine, and the opposite elbow all the way over and through. There's a much bigger stretched line. So regular pigeon focuses more at the hip. This side saddle seat and twist. 2 more breaths. And come on up. Side. We'll do a pigeon after this so you guys can check and see if maybe just preps you up a little bit. Got you ready for it. So my first part in here is I'm going to do just a little hip articulation. So I'm going to take the hip and I'm going to set it back for a second. And right now I'm pointing at my right hip. And then I'm going to push down with my right foot and do a little, mostly on the right side, I'm going to push that hip forward. And so it can just move a little forward and back. And sometimes, like if you get some hip impingement stuff, these real subtle, gentle movements in here, sometimes it's like this that the body starts protecting if you have some issues here. And so now when you're ready, take the hip a little forward. And you can turn it a little in. There you go. Bring that elbow down. The stretch line for you body junkies, you anatomy junkies. It's a conversation about, it's not just one muscle, like does this stretch the piriformis? So if you really twist and you bow a bunch, this stretch can come all the way up the outer left leg, over the hip, across the spine. If you round your back like you're doing a little cat pose, the line of stretch or the line of pull from that left hip, you might feel it all the way up into the right side of your ribs, your right shoulder. And come on up. Switch leg. Now let's go with that right leg in pigeon. And if you decide, oh hey, I really like that side saddle, I've never put a saddle on a pigeon. They're small. But a side saddle pigeon is that's what I got in mind.
I have an image in my head.
What's that?
I have an image in my head.
You got a good image there, yeah. I also think of Ben Kingsley playing Gandhi. And the others sat like this all the time and weaved his cotton into his thread. So I think this is I don't want to say do the left side Gandhi, but that's kind of what my brain's thinking sometimes. So let's go the opposite arm. This is a little bit how we did it when we did the side saddle pigeon. And you might even notice when you get your right leg forward, you put your left elbow down. Sometimes it pulls. You might feel that stretch more. You might feel how when you bring this side down, the hip rotates in. You can just let your eyes close. Well, spread your attention around your body. And let's go ahead and switch sides again. It's the left leg. So I find for myself, or if I'm teaching some mindfulness skills for the yoga mat, that people have a really tough time moving their awareness to a place that has lots of uncertainty. There's some pretty primal resistance to go there. It's just, it's so, it pulsates so much, it's hard to predict. Could be this, could be that. If you haven't done that opposite arm and you'd like to, maybe have a little more balance on this one, you can put that right elbow down, do a little turn from the right, in towards the left knee. And come on back up. Okay, just take a seat. Oh, that's okay. Snowboarding, bad. So I'm going to do a little bit of our core work that we've done a lot the last couple of years. And if you guys need, there's bolsters back in that corner. If you guys want. Do I bolster? Sure. Well, if anybody else needs a bolster, anybody else? At home, if you don't have a bolster, you could use a couple pillows. These are really dense, so they're going to change the way the body lays back. So at home, if you want to, you can take 2 or 3 bath towels, and what we're going to do is we're going to put them right under the ribs, so it looks like I'm kind of in a restorative pose, where I would lay back and just enjoy back bend. And then I'm going to ruin that. So right under the ribs, you can adjust. If you're using a Zafu, it's got the little pods in it. Sometimes you gotta wiggle around in there. So you can make this like a heart opener, a shoulder opener, even like a thoracic spine mobility thing. If you're up for it, go ahead and put your hands behind your head. And if you're not very flexible or mobile around your rib cage, sometimes this is just, you should just hang out here. The big inhale, I don't know if you can see this at home. If you're on the mats, I think everybody here has done this with me. Take a big inhale and get the ribs to really expand. And then I want you to do a big inhale, and if you can't, move it more to your belly. If you haven't been around for the breath work, do another belly breath. We've been getting a lot more skillful with our breath stuff. Now take a big inhale, whole body inhale. And as you exhale, purse your lips and blow out through the lips. Like you're blowing up a balloon. And I want you to keep exhaling until your core gets tight. Little birthday balloons, you know, the ones that animals, you tie them up and you make animals out of them. Do another inhale. Exhale, tighten your core with your breath. Do the lips so your diaphragm has more resistance to push the air out against. It's through the lips. Hold it. If you couldn't hold it, do it again. And exhale until you're tight. And once everything's tight, do a small sit-up. And once you get into that small sit-up, it's not very large at all. I'm trying to get like neutral. From a back bend, exhale. Tighten it up, small little sit-up, another layer of your core stuff, hold it up there, and then while you're up there with your core tight, breathe into the belly of your tight core. So instead of breathing into a chest breath, I'm going to try to breathe right up against my abdominal wall. And as I do that, you might even have to breathe in through pursed lips. When you inhale with your lips tight and your core tight, you might feel the middle of your rib cage expand with your breath, and it's going to expand right into that bolster. And it might even make, as your back of your ribs, which sometimes is called the kidney area, as that expands, it might make you feel like you go up. Then when you exhale tight, do 10 breaths. Keep it all tight. Keep it up there. almost there. A lot of breath tone. Let's do one more. Exhale, tighten it up. Hold it tight. So you're kind of going to hold the end of your exhale. Do a half a breath in, and this is almost like Kapalabhati breathing. So a little breath in, and then little teeny pushes. You have to inhale 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do it again. Oh, lay back. Oh, yeah. So it's trying to create a little core tone, diaphragm tone, trying to get into a couple of those tough areas that the nervous system and the body just really listen to. Now, you got that zafu or bolster underneath you, and you can take that out and just lay back into Shavasana. If you're at home, you can lay back into Shavasana. I'm going to sit up like I'm meditating. Those of you who I know well, you know I usually finish class with more of a seated meditation than a Shavasana. If you're newer, it's not a must, it's just an invitation. I think more people need a little bit more invitation. I do Shavasana every day at bedtime. As you shift into your meditation or your Shavasana, do a couple of those soothing breaths. And just soften. And let that under your thinking, the undercurrent of your thoughts and nervous system, support that area. And just not needing to be so positive about what's going to happen next. You can still plan, you can still prepare. It's kind of like your practice, you're walking down to the end of the block where there's a crosswalk. And you're just going to go down there and see what the crosswalk sign says. And just ready for it to say don't walk, or ready for it to say go ahead and cross. But you're okay. Let yourself be a little open, just for a few minutes if that's all you can afford. If you are at home or you're rewatching this class, you're welcome to take out your cordless earbud, turn the video off, and just do the full Shavasana. I got quite a few people out there who are with you in your practice. You can all do your Shavasana at the same time, even if you're watching the class replay. You're not alone.
studio, work your way back up to a seat. We're gonna finish this out. If you're at home, again, you have your options. If you're taking off and turning off the camera, it's great to see it. Here in the studio,